Hi friend, welcome to my channel. Today I'm doing part 2 of a series called Mindset for Christians. If you want to see part 1, please go back through my videos and watch part 1, Mindset for Christians, so that you can get a good foundation of today's discussion. So we started talking about in Mindset part 1 how asking the question, does God want us to work on our mindsets? And we went through some of the evidences from the scriptures that yes, he actually does. And then we started getting into the topic of the law of attraction, what is called the law of attraction sometimes in the world, but we discussed is actually a law of sowing and reaping, and like attracts like. And I wanted to tell you about another thing that has to do with the area of frequencies and how we can understand how this works in our universe by using scriptural examples. Now we talked in the last video about how when the tabernacle was made, God wanted to dwell with his people, and he vibrates obviously at a higher frequency than we do, but we're made in his image, so we know that that's a possibility. And we also know that they had to do certain things to specification in order to create the tabernacle exactly according to his instructions. Now there are clues in there because we can actually know that things have to be prepared or made a certain way in order for God to come and put his hand of blessing on something. And we talked about how linen and essential oils like the anointing oil of the priest actually has a certain frequency. Did you know that there were no flies around the tabernacle or the temple? Now this is astounding when you think about the fact that they were slaughtering all these animals and that they were actually, this was like going on sometimes all day depending upon what day it was, and that there were no flies, there was no diseases, there was none of this. Why? Because they had been told and prepared with instructions on how to prepare things and carry things out. Now there's another thing that happened, and we talked about the attire of the high priest and how this actually, he couldn't wear wool and linen together because linen operates as a high frequency material, and wool is like subtracts from that, as a negative, so it cancels it out. So they were instructed not to mix these things together, so because it would make their service in the tabernacle and temple ineffectual. Basically. So, and then I started thinking about how I learned from Rico Cortez about how when the worshipers would approach the tabernacle or the temple with their animal, and the priests were there to minister in song, and they would sing psalms, and this would go on for hours and hours. And actually what would happen, this is very interesting because it shows that we can actually change our vibrations or the frequency upon which we operate just by changing things in our environment and changing our mindset. And this is key because when the priests were there at the temple and they saw a worshiper approaching the temple with their animal sacrifice, they would look at the countenance of the man. Is the man down? Is he grieving? Maybe he had had a death in his life and he was really full of grief. So what the priests did, and I think this is highly insightful, is that they would start singing psalms of praise, and they would actually change the frequency that was going around the man, and they would start singing psalms of praise and uplifting, and God is our Savior. And what that actually did was it lifted the man's countenance, gave him hope, and it changed his vibrational frequency prior to him getting to the temple or tabernacle, so that he could offer his sacrifice and he would have a wonderful experience. And he wouldn't have this like ho-hum experience because he was approaching the God of the universe right there at the temple. So I started thinking about this, and likewise, if another man started approaching with his animal sacrifice, and say he had like pride in his heart and he just thought he was all that and just all this, I'm sure you know the type. Once he started approaching the temple or tabernacle, he had this attitude. Well, the priest would discern, he's got to change his vibration. He needs to change his frequency. He's approaching the God of the universe. So they would start singing psalms of brokenheartedness, psalms of contrite heart and a contrite spirit, I believe is Psalm 51. So they started singing these things out. So why? So he would hear, and he would start to change his emotions and change the attitude of his heart, and actually therefore start changing his vibrational frequencies, so that when he got to the temple, he could have a very fulfilling and a very intimate relationship and experience with the God of the universe. So these things started weighing on me, and I started thinking, I think that's how we are. Now, we're to offer up a sacrifice of praise, to be a living sacrifice every single day, right? And so this started factoring into my question, should Christians work on mindset? with a resounding yes, because if we are to have the most fulfilling experience and relationship with the God of the universe, with the Lord, then we also need to be elevating our frequency. We need to be thinking good thoughts and having checking the attitudes of our heart, so that he would want to hang around us, so that he would want to be around us. In the last video, I talked a little bit about, do you like to hang around people that are negative all the time, that just drain your energy? Of course not. There's a reason why we call it drain our energy, right? Because we don't want to be around that. It actually takes away from us. We don't want to take away from other people. And we for sure don't want to take away from the God of the universe, the one whom we serve. And so therefore, it's really super important that we gain a hold on our mindsets, and that we start putting the good stuff in, getting the negative stuff out, so that we can do this on a consistent daily basis. Now, in my channel, I talk a little bit about some of the tools that are available to us that really are powerful and work. So in this video, I want to talk a little bit about the importance of language. Actually, it's all language, but it's really the language that we tell ourselves. Because if we tell ourselves things such as, I'm not worthy, I'm not good enough, I'm not smart enough, I'm not attractive enough, I'm not wealthy enough, I'm not successful enough, then we start to believe those things. And in the last video, we called it making a vow, a secret vow with a lie, which has to be dealt with, by the way. And the way you do it is you replace it with the truth. You replace that you are worthy. You are a fantastically successful person. You are fantastico. And when we start telling ourselves these things, guess what? Our countenance starts to change, and our vibration starts to change. And then we start reaping really good stuff into our lives. But it must start somewhere, right? So I want to give you a little bit of an understanding of the importance of language, because words are things. Thoughts are things. Now, I've heard this in the entrepreneurial world for a long time, that thoughts are things. Bob Proctor is a huge proponent of that. My hat's off to him, because he's got a handle on some of this truth. Now, what does that mean, though? Well, we can know this is true because in Hebrew, the word for word, devar, devarim for words plural, devar, which means word, is the exact same Hebrew word for the word thing. Did you get a hold of that? That's powerful. The Hebrew word for word is the same as the Hebrew for the word thing. Thoughts are things. Words are things. Thoughts are just words we tell ourselves, right? So thoughts are things, and it's hugely important to get a hold of this. So if we're telling ourselves negative thoughts day after day, day in, day out, what do you think is going to happen? We're going to start believing those negative things, right? We're going to become what we think. We're going to become negative. We're going to become energy drainers. And we don't want to do that. We want to live a life of abundance, of blessing. We want to raise our vibrational frequencies so that we can serve the Lord better, and we can also, be more effectual, be more effective in our mandate, fulfilling our mandate on the earth. So there are things that we can do to change the thoughts that we think and the things we tell ourselves. One of them is a huge area, and it just touches on this truth, but it's called NLP, Neuro-Linguistic Programming. So being given the example that I gave you in the beginning of this video, that if we can actually, by the things we sing or say, we can actually change the atmosphere around us and thus change our own vibrational frequencies, then the words we tell ourselves can change that also. So the things that we need to kick out are the negative thoughts and the imprinting that maybe we got young as a child, or from our religion, or from society even. Women carry a lot of negative imprinting from society. I'm telling you, we have to kick that out. We have to tell ourselves what the Creator thinks about us, that we are beautiful, that we're worthy, that we're princesses, because we are. We're called to be royalty, to rule and reign on the earth. And if we're telling ourselves opposite things, He can't bless that. So let's kick those things out and start telling ourselves positive things. Whatsoever is true, whatsoever is lovely, right? The verse from Philippians chapter 4. So this is important. And for me, it started by, I have 8 hours a night where My brain is in alpha state now. If you watch my videos, you know that there are different brain states. This is an actual scientific fact, but we can use it to our advantage when we're working on mindset, because when you are in alpha and theta state, your brain is more impressionable and you can actually reprogram your belief system and what you tell yourself. And so this is why neuro-linguistic programming while you're sleeping is highly, highly effective, because it actually goes in and it puts the good things in. And have you ever watched a Pepsi commercial? Have you seen back in the 80s and 90s how they put all kinds of those subliminal messages in those commercials? It's the same exact thing, only we're putting truthful stuff, we're putting good stuff in there. We're taking advantage of the fact that our brain is in a certain state for 8 hours a day and we're just doing it. So there are opportunities for you to do this. There are things, affirmations from the scriptures, affirmations from the Bible available to you on YouTube. I highly suggest you go and check them out. And it's better if you put, the headphones in and listen to it all night, and doesn't have to be very loud, just put it on low and get the good stuff start going in. I think you'll be amazed at the thoughts. You might find yourself having more pep in your step. You might find yourself like not needing coffee as much, or wanting to get off those those mood altering medications, or just finding yourself just more happy, and people around you commenting like, what is going on with you? I see a change in you. You just seem so much more happy and successful, and you watch the blessings of the Lord chase you down the street and overtake you. Okay, that's it for me today, and this is Mindset Mom signing off, saying be smart and be benevolent.